Good Wednesday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. Hope everybody's having a great start to their Wednesday out there, and thanks to all the viewers and all the subscribers that continue to watch my videos each and every morning. I truly do appreciate you. Looking at today's weather forecast, we have dense fog across the middle of the country as we are melting our snowpack, and we have flash flooding across the middle and lower Mississippi Valley, overspreading that region as we go through the week and into the weekend. And we'll be looking longer range at your early and middle February forecast later on in today's weather forecast. So looking here currently at your weather alerts across the country, we do have dense fog advisories in gray across portions of the Great Plains, the Midwest, and on up here into the southern Great Lakes regions. Further south in the green, these are flood watches across portions there of the lower and middle Mississippi Valley as we are continuing to monitor the threat for some significant flash flooding over the next few days. Let's first look at our visibility restrictions with that dense fog here this morning. You can see as you're heading out for work, school, or just to run errands out there, take it slow out on those roadways. We are seeing those quarter to half mile or less visibilities out there, so definitely take it slow out on the roadways this morning. Going into the afternoon, we will start to see some ease up on the fog, especially across the Great Plains states, but across the Midwest, especially the upper Midwest and around the Great Lakes region, we'll start to see more of those patchy areas of dense fog as we go through the afternoon. And into tonight, we'll start to make that a little bit more widespread once again, so more dense fog advisories may be needed to the north as we go deeper into the night tonight as well. If you are new to the channel and like detailed weather breakdowns across North America, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below and I'll continue to keep you updated. Also be sure to press the like button down below. It helps out more than you know. Let's look at our low temperatures here this morning and notice the freezing line is way up here to the north across the upper Midwest and into the Great Lakes region, and you can see the cooler weather overspreading parts of the Rockies. Further to the south, a little bit more mild this morning into the 40s, 50s, and some 60s down here, especially as we go into Florida. As we go into the afternoon, we're going to see that freezing line start to migrate a little bit further to the north here, but just a mild late January day is expected across most of the country as we go into this afternoon. Let's look at our precipitable water values here. Currently, we have a lot of Gulf of Mexico moisture here moving across the eastern 2/3 of the country, and we're going to see that continue to overspread that region going through later this week and especially into the weekend. So definitely seeing a lot of moisture there from the eastern Pacific and the Gulf of Mexico, and that is going to cause some flooding concerns. So looking at current weather conditions across the country here, we are seeing some heavier rains and some thunderstorm activity, especially further to the south as we have more of the instability starting to build up across portions there of Louisiana, Mississippi, and the deep south. And going through today, we're going to have a line of thunderstorms moving across the deep south and into the southeast, and this will be training over the same areas, and that's a concern as we go even into tonight for that flash flooding risk. So we'll continue to monitor that as we go through the nighttime hours and even into your Thursday. We're going to see more rounds of some very heavy rain here, especially across the deep south, the middle, and lower Mississippi Valley. And looking at those totals, those rainfall totals going through your Friday morning time frame on January 26th, notice the corridor of some very heavy rainfall here from East Texas through the Dixie Valley region, getting up into Tennessee and portions there of Georgia and the Carolinas, even some heavier rainfall further to the north into the Ohio Valley. Zooming it in, showing you those rainfall amounts, some very healthy totals here, 3 to 6 inches in most cases across the Dixie Valley region, across the southeast, and a narrow swath of over 6 inches of rain, especially here into portions of southeastern Louisiana, south central Mississippi, and into western Alabama. That's going to be the bullseye of the heaviest rain through your Friday morning commute. And here's the concern. We have a slight to moderate risk of flash flooding here from Tennessee all the way back southwestward there into the lower Mississippi Valley, with the bullseye around the Lake Charles region, Baton Rouge, on up there into portions of Jackson, Mississippi through the next 24 hours. And then that will slowly shift east into that slight risk for flash flooding across the southeast as we go into that Thursday into Friday timeframe. And I wouldn't be surprised if we did see an upgrade to a moderate risk for flash flooding as we go into tomorrow's forecast across this region, as we have some very heavy rainfall on the way. And just kind of understanding what those excessive rainfall risk categories are, when you have a slight to moderate risk of flash flooding potential, that means scattered flash floods and even numerous flash floods will be possible, if not likely, out there. And especially when you get into the moderate category, those could be quite significant. So we want to make sure that you turn around, don't drown, don't drive on flooded roadways. It is never a good thing to do. But as we go into the weekend, here's another round of yet again more moisture, more heavy rain across the southeast, more thunderstorm activity as well. Probably not severe weather, but that will be spreading further up to the north here into the mid-Atlantic states and the Ohio Valley with more of that rainfall. Remember, our temperatures will be above freezing through the nighttime as we go into Saturday night. As we go into Sunday morning, there could be a narrow swath of some snow up here across portions of the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states. That could be providing us with some brief snowfall. And then Sunday night, we start to see more of that wrapping up across the East Coast. So another wet storm that'll be moving across the country. And looking at our precipitation just this weekend, that's Saturday and into Sunday, the 27th and 28th of January, notice we see the heaviest rains from those areas into the deep south again, up into the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, including that I-95 corridor. And looking at a couple weather models in regards to our heavy snowfall potential, this is your GFS model, and notice it's a little bit further north across portions of the Ohio Valley, the southeastern Canadian provinces here of Ontario and Quebec, and then up here toward portions of that I-95 corridor. Notice the European model a little bit further south, mainly south of the I-95 corridor. So there's a little bit of disagreement with the track of this low pressure system, which will make a big difference in where that snowfall does fall as we go deeper into the weekend. We will keep you covered. Now turning into the long range weather forecast here into the first week in February, we're going to have some high pressure blocking up here across southern and southeastern Canada. And what that means is a lot of sinking air, a lot of warmer air, but more importantly, drier air across this region. And then we have a trough in the blue here entering into California and the West Coast, as our atmospheric river is going to have no change in sight as we continue to pump in that eastern Pacific moisture. Let's look first at our temperatures during that first week in February. Well above normal temperatures up here into the Great Lakes and the Midwest Ohio Valley region, but really anywhere east of the Rockies during this time frame, we're likely going to be well above average with our temperatures. Just taking a peek at those highs, we could be seeing the 40 and 50 degree line move further to the north. So areas in the upper Midwest into the 40s, areas in the Great Lakes Ohio Valley and the Northeast into the 40s, and that 50 degree line could be moving up toward Kansas City, St. Louis, Indianapolis, Cincinnati, and even Washington, D.C. as we go into that first week in February. The low temperatures really not too shabby to start off February either, into the 30s and 40s to the north, and 50s and even some low 60s for lows down toward the Rio Grande Valley during that first week in February. Very active pattern. That atmospheric river does continue as we go deeper into the first week in February out west. Very heavy flooding rains for California and very heavy snowfall as well. But across the Northeast, we will be drier during this time frame with that high pressure. So let's look at our total precipitation during the first week in February. Some very heavy rains again across the deep south, so we just can't get a break. And then very heavy rains across the west, California, getting into the Four Corners region, especially some more healthy totals. And some of this moisture could even be coming at the cost of some extremely heavy snow, especially for the Sierras. The Sierras out here in California are absolutely going to get crushed with snowfall over the next couple of weeks, especially even into the first week in February, and that's definitely good news for the ski resorts out west. And then into the second week, we still have the high pressure blocking with that sinking and drier air, warmer air to the north, but that high pressure will start to retrograde further to the west into the western Canadian provinces here here, and that means we're going to start to sneak down those low pressure systems in that storm track underneath across the southern and southeastern U.S. and eventually up the East Coast as we get closer towards the middle of the month. Let's look at our AO. This is your Arctic oscillation, and it's been positive here for about a week or so. That's why we're starting to see our warm-up. It's always a lag here in our teleconnections, but as we go in towards that second week, especially of February and beyond, toward the second half of the month, we're likely going to see a negative dip here in the Arctic oscillation, which means it's about a week lag or so in our teleconnections. So by the time we get in towards that middle and end of February, it's likely to turn a lot colder here. Right now, we're only going to look at the second week in February, and you can see that colder air coming to fruition out here across the western third of the country, that high pressure blocking that we talked about, still across Canada and the northern U.S., bringing those warmer than normal temperatures out here. And you can see eventually that cold air is going to sneak down underneath and bring in some cooler weather across the southeast and eventually up the East Coast. And that will coincide with some above average precipitation values you can see across the I-95 corridor, down across the southeast, and unfortunately, again, down across the deep south. We just cannot get a break from our precipitation. And then if we have colder air coming in, if that Arctic oscillation and negative values do come to fruition, that snow line will again start to move further to the south. Areas that saw that snow melt this week and into the weekend, we'll start to see more snowfall accumulation as we get into that second week in February and even into the second half of the month as that colder air comes in and coincides with a lot of this moisture out here. So we'll continue to keep you updated on that. Be sure to subscribe to the channel down below so you don't miss any of these weather forecasts. I do them daily every single morning at 7 o'clock a.m. Central Daylight Time. Be sure to subscribe to the channel down below. Like I said, make sure to press the like button as well. It helps out more than you know. Share this video with friends, family, and on social media, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Wednesday out there.